Hey, I just got out of Star Wars The Last Jedi, and I didn't think it was good. I wouldn't say I liked this movie, but it was better than I thought it would be. I saw a lot of people are like, "Oh God, it was fucking horrible. It's even worse than the prequels look good compared to this crap." And so I was prepared for the worst, and it wasn't terrible. It wasn't painfully bad or anything, but that said, I also didn't really like it that much. So I guess just getting out of the way, my thoughts on the other Star Wars movies. I think the original trilogy is good. They're not some of my all-time favorite films, but I think they're pretty good. I think the prequels are all pieces of shit. I think the holiday special is a piece of shit, and I didn't really like the Force Awakens. I thought it was mediocre. It's an okay popcorn movie, I guess, but there's nothing really great about it. Rogue One, interesting. I thought the last third of the movie was good. I thought the final battle was fine, but I thought the first two thirds of Rogue One were horrible, boring crap. So I haven't, as you can see, I haven't really been impressed with a Star Wars film since Return of the Jedi, and this one I'd say it's about as good as Force Awakens, or about as bad as Force Awakens, but bad in a very different way. Because like Force Awakens, very formulaic. It was basically just a remake of A New Hope. It wasn't a terrible remake, but it wasn't very original. This one, it's a lot more ambitious. That's the credit I'll give it. It's a more ambitious movie than Force Awakens, but I'd say there's also technically more wrong with it. Oh, heads up! This whole review is going to have spoilers in it. I'm going to dive right into the spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, stop it now. So, talking about some good things I liked about the movie. I like to, with these kinds of vlogs, I like to start out with the good stuff. Again, it was an ambitious film. It did not feel like a ripoff of Empire Strikes Back. It feels like its own Star Wars film. I thought Luke Skywalker had some good scenes in the movie. I'm not talking about his story arc as a whole. He had a few good individual scenes. I thought the Yoda cameo was very nice. It was great to see Yoda again. I thought the scene was with R2D2 was fine. Even some of the scenes with him, like training Rey and explaining the Force to her, I thought those were fine. So Luke Skywalker did have some decent moments, and I thought the ending was okay. And by ending, I'm not talking about the final battle, or the final act of the movie. I mean like the last couple scenes. I thought it left off in a good way. So okay ending, but other than that, I can't really think of anything else I liked about it. I mean, the action's fine and the visuals are fine, but it's like when you go see a $203 million movie in the theaters, you just expect it to have decent visuals. I'm sick of giving credit to movies for having decent CGI action scenes. So getting into the stuff I didn't like, most of the comedy in the film was cringeworthy and horrible. There were a couple of funny lines. Like there was one scene with again with Luke, where he's talking to her, and he's like, nobody comes from nowhere," and she's like, "I'm from Jakku," and he's like, "Okay, that's basically nowhere." So there were a couple lines that cracked me up, but a friend of mine points this out to me. He's like, most of the comedy in this movie feels like it's trying to be Spaceballs. There are moments in this film that feel like they were scripted by Mel Brooks in his later years, like when he wasn't even funny anymore. This does feel like at times a bizarre mashup of actual Star Wars and Spaceballs. So that was horrible. Laura Dern's character in this is one of my least favorite Star Wars characters ever. I knew from the second I saw her that I was gonna hate her. She is so bad in this. I mean, for most of the film, it feels like you're supposed to hate her, that you're supposed to be like siding with everyone against her, but then it turns out that you were supposed to like her all along. She is just horrible. I mean, she's almost as bad as Jar Jar Binks, in my opinion. so, God. By the way, I'm talking about like the purple haired lady. So I freaking hated the purple haired lady. I wanted her gone from the second I saw her. Carrie Fisher was wasted in this, and that's really sad because we all know she passed away in real life, so it's like this is her last movie role ever. We're never going to see Princess Leia in live action ever again, and she was pretty much wasted in this. Weren't really any moments in the film. I feel like she didn't have any great moments in the movie, but and then there's that scene where we've already joked about where she's like flying through space with no explanation, and I knew about it going in, but it was even worse when I actually saw it. So I feel like this movie was not a good send off for the Princess Leia character, which I think is really sad. And pretty much all the characters introduced in this movie are not good. Trying to think where there. Benicio del Toro. I like the guy a lot, but his character in this was a forgettable, cliched mess. He wasn't as annoying as Laura Dern, but again, they wasted him. This movie wasted too many good actors, and then you got like the Asian girl Rose, who wasn't as bad as I thought she was going to be. She at least had an okay backstory, I guess, but as the movie went on, she felt utterly pointless. And speaking of pointless, Finn, his whole subplot with Rose and Benicio del Toro, it feels entirely pointless. I mean, I guess they're I don't know. I guess they're like, go to some planet to find some guy who can disable the Empire's tracking system or some shit. But it honestly feels like they just created a whole subplot for these characters to give them something to do. Like Finn could easily have just been cut out of this movie. And I didn't hate him in Force Awakens. It would have been fine with him getting more development, but him and Rose, their adventures feel totally unnecessary and tacked on. They were by far the most boring parts of the movie. It felt like they're like, okay, let's give them a subplot and then have some like a half-assed social commentary about evil rich people and call it a day. I would have liked to see more of what's his name, Poe Dameron. Like out of all the new characters introduced, I feel like he's by far the most interesting, or at least the most fun, the most charismatic. I would have liked to see more of him, but his whole subplot involves like the shitty purple-haired lady, so even that was kind of ruined. What else? In case you haven't noticed, I took notes. I'm reading from notes. Rey gets basically no development, regardless of what you think of Rey. Whether you think she's like a boring or if she's a fun character, she's basically the same person at the end of this movie as she was in the first scene of Force Awakens. She doesn't really change. If anything, this whole movie was more Luke. Honestly, these new Star Wars movies, they're more about Luke and Kylo Ren than they are about Rey, because at least they actually change. At least they have arcs. I mean, Rey, she's basically just the same person. And I mean, maybe you like this person, maybe you find her dull. But basically she lacks development as a protagonist. So this she didn't really do anything for me in this one. I thought the revelation about her parentage was a cop-out. I mean, they just kind of like set it up to be some important mystery in Force Awakens, and this one they're like, oh yeah, they were just a bunch of losers no one cares about. So I feel like they got really lazy on that part. The villains in these movies are horrible. Like pretty much everyone already knows that. Snoke is horrible, and like he's so bad that even the movies realized he was horrible, and they just killed him off. Yeah, Snoke was a mess. I'd have preferred that, like, if they he was barely in Force Awakens. I'd have preferred they actually did something with him. They found some way to, like, turn him around, make him into a worthwhile villain, as opposed to some like generic Emperor Palpatine stand-in. But no, they just got lazy and killed him off. General Hux is horrible, and that's disappointing because he's, I think, the only ginger character in the Star Wars films. So ginger is a terrible thing to waste. They ruined the one redhead in these movies, which pisses me off. And then you got Kylo Ren, who everyone's already joked about Kylo Ren. He's like this whiny little emo boy with daddy issues. And Kylo Ren is horrible. He's not intimidating. His character makes no sense. I mean, watching this movie, I feel like he just spontaneously went from like evil to sympathetic to evil again with just really flimsy explanation. So they did not make me like Kylo Ren either. He is horrible. He's a disgrace to the Sith. And then let's talk about Luke Skywalker. He dies in this, and I feel like they fucked up his death badly. I mean, honestly, his character arc in this is meh. I didn't hate it as much as some people do, but I don't think it was that great either. But let's just talk about his death on its own. It feels super underwhelming. Aside from the fact that like at this point, all the original heroes, all the original Star Wars heroes are dead now. Like Han Solo is dead. Princess Leia is technically still alive, but we all know Carrie Fisher passed away, so we won't be seeing her again. And now Luke Skywalker is dead too. His death, it was completely underwhelming because all he really accomplished in his death was creating a diversion. His job was to basically distract the enemy so everyone else could escape. And this is distract the enemy. That's the kind of thing that any inconsequential character should do. Sure, it looks cool. They have all that cool cinematography and flashy fight choreography and stuff. They tried to make it look cool, but in the end, Luke died creating a diversion, and I thought that was lame as fuck. They really did Luke Skywalker a disservice by killing him off that way. So, and even the story of this movie wasn't that good. Basically, the story is the bad guys are chasing the good guys, and a bunch of subplots break off from it. It's basically just a 2.5 hour long chase. I think Luke's death is the only really important thing that happens because Kylo Ren is still evil. Rey didn't really change much or accomplish anything. She found out who her parents were losers, but that's about it. So basically, it was just a 2.5 hour chase that ended in Luke Skywalker dying. So I did not care for this movie. I did not think it was very good. But at the same time, I feel like it could have been worse. So I'm not super angry over it. Honestly, I hated Justice League more. I thought that was my angry movie of the year. So yeah, Star Wars Last Jedi, I gave it maybe a 5 out of 10. If just a 5, it's very mediocre. It has some good stuff, but it's also got a lot of bad. So yeah, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe. Good night, everybody.